everyone. Today I'm going to attempt a second type of bread, a French baguette. And being born in France, whenever I go to France, I wake up early in the morning and I walk over to the boulangerie and I pick up the baguettes and the croissants fresh. So I've been wanting to learn how to make a baguette, and therefore I'm going to show you guys how to do it. It's actually very simple. Like always, all breads have the same ingredients: flour, salt, water, and yeast. It depends on the technique that you use on the type of bread you're going to get. So today it's going to be a baguette, and I'm going to start with 3 cups of warm water at about 90 degrees, okay? And in there I'm going to put in 4 teaspoons of instant yeast. I'm going to stir it up a little bit just to start activating it a bit. And we're just going to leave it in there for about 5 minutes so that it proofs, make sure that the yeast is working, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I've got 6 3/4 cups of flour, just regular flour. I'm going to put it in a really big bowl because this is going to expand quite a bit. And then I'm going to use 3 teaspoons of salt. Kosher salt is what I'm going to use. So 3 teaspoons of kosher salt directly into the flour. And those are all the ingredients that we're going to use for this type of bread. So we're going to wait 5 minutes and I will come back to talk about what we do next. Okay, 5 minutes have lapsed and the actual yeast and water is bubbling, so I know that the yeast is actually active, so we know that it works. What I'm going to do, use my hands, and I'm going to stir around the flour and the salt so that it's all well mixed together. And I'm going to make a little well, and I'm going to pour the yeast and the water right in the middle, scooping up all the yeast with my hands that is inside here, so we get all that ingredient into the pan here. Okay, so using your hands, you're going to start stirring the flour into the watery yeast, and basically just using your hands until it's fully incorporated. Now this dough will make 4 baguettes, large loaf baguettes, or 8 small baguettes. And today I'm going to make the 8 small baguettes. And we're going to just incorporate all the dough here. Until it's fully incorporated. And you get all the yeast, all the flour, all the salt. And it's just a dough like that. Now, it's going to be sticky on your hands, so you want to scrape everything off. Incorporate it all nicely in the middle. So it's a dough. Wash your hands. Then you're going to cover this up with some saran wrap. Until it's really well covered. So I usually put 3 on this as it's a big bowl. And this will be the first time that we just leave it to seal up. And we're going to put a tea towel over it. And now we're going to wait for the first time the ½ hour. Just like that, for ½ hour, we're going to let it sit now, and we'll come back in ½ an hour and I'll show you what we're going to do next. ½ an hour has passed and we should now start seeing it starting to get a little more dough than what we had before. And so what we have here, it's a sticky dough. So what we'll do is we're gonna grab it from the outside, pull it in, grab it from the outside and pull it in. We're not kneading this dough at all. Grabbing from the outside, pulling in. Grabbing from the outside, pulling in. Grabbing from the outside, pulling in. grabbing from the outside and pulling in. And I've done that all around by turning it around. And you can see that in the middle, it's now all formed from me tugging at it and pulling it in. Now I'm gonna actually cover it again, just the way it is, not even manipulating it anymore. And I'm gonna cover it up with the saran wrap. And we're gonna do this again another 2 more times after each half hour. So again, with the saran wrap, we're gonna cover this all up. Make sure that it's sealed very well, because it's the seal making sure that it's getting no air into it. That allows it to rise the way it's supposed to rise. There we go, all sealed. Again, cover it up with your tea towel. And I will see you again in half an hour. Hi, another half hour's passed, and we're going to now take a look again at our dough. It is rising and it's getting bigger. So I'm going to take the saran wrap off again, and remember, we're going to reuse this, so take it off. And you can see that it's actually risen quite a bit again. So we're going to do the same thing, where we're going to pull and bring it into the middle. Pull, 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 bring it into the middle. Now I've done it again for all around. I've gone around the bowl the whole time, and you can see that again it's in the middle there, all brought together. And I'm going to just keep it closed. And it is quite sticky, so definitely wash your hands when it's clean. Wash your hands, and then put the saran wrap around again. And again, let's seal it really well. And it's going to, again, another half hour sit and raise. Cover it up, ready to go for another half an hour. We will do that again, where we're gonna pull it, stretch it, and fold it back in. We're going to do it another 1 time, and then after that, we will do more different raises, but for now, that's all. Another half hour's passed, and we're going to now do it for the 3rd time, where we're going to spin and turn and spin and turn and punch it down, and then we will leave it again for another half hour. So let's do this, and you can see that the dough has actually raised again. So I'm going to punch it down by pulling it up again and pushing it in, pulling it up, pushing it in, pulling it up, pushing it in, pulling it up, pushing it in. And the dough is actually starting to get bubbly now, which is exactly what we want to see. And again, I'm going to put the saran wrap all around it. Make sure you have that really good seal. Very good seal. Yeah, there we go. And again, we're going to cover it up with the tea towel, and we're going to leave it again for another half hour. This is the last time that we've done what we needed to do with the dough itself. When we come back, we're going to flip it on to our area where we're going to work the dough, and we're going to have a little bit of flour on that area. So when I get back, I will go through a few more steps. So I thought what I'd do before we're ready for the next stage of taking the dough out and putting it on the counter. What I've done is put a little bit of flour, just sprinkled a little flour on my counter, because it's not going to need a lot of flour. This dough doesn't need a lot of flour in it. As well as I've prepped 2 different items. This one is a cutting board and the other one is a tray, the upside down tray. I've prepped it with parchment paper. This is where we're going to put our baguettes when we make them, and then we're going to cover them up with a tea towel so that they actually can rise for the last hour. Then also what I've done is in the oven, and I've got 2 ovens here, I've got a tray already in the middle oven, rack of the oven, so then that way it's going to get warm. As soon as we put this on, it's going to get really hot, and when we place the baguettes from here onto the tray, when we take the tray out, it'll already be hot, the tray. As well, what I've done is I've got a cake dish about half full of water on the bottom rack, and this here is going to be, once we turn it on the oven, we do that about a half hour before we're ready to bake at 475. It's going to steam the oven so that it will have the oven ready for the baguettes to go in and get nice and steamy, because the baguettes, that's one of the techniques, it needs an actual oven that is got a lot of steam in it. So that's what we had to do just to get ready. So those things are ready for when we're ready to actually bake. We'll see you in a little bit when we're ready to turn over the dough onto our working platform over here. Okay, we are already ready to turn over the dough onto our working surface. And again, remember, this dough is very sticky, and we're going to just roll it out. It'll actually fall right in there. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of flour on top of the dough itself. I'd also spray my hands with some of the cooking spray so that it doesn't stick all over me. And you can see that the dough is very easy to work, very sticky. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half and then cut it into quarters. And you could use a scale, and for 8 pieces it'd be about 210 grams each one, or 420 for 4 pieces. But I'm just going to wing it because these are just going to be little baby baguettes, and it doesn't matter how they look or how big they are, as long as they are about the same size. That's what we want to do. Have 4, and I can already see that this one's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to add it to this one, and so is this one's a little bit bigger, and I'm going to add it to this one here. So they're about the same size now. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger too. And so what we're going to do is just shape them into a log and then push them down so that it's a rectangle, about 2 to 4 inches long. And you're going to do that to each one of these. Push it down so that it's a rectangle, 2 to 4 inches long. All of them, there's a lot of little bubbles in them, which is very good. All right, and what you're going to do after is just cover it with a tea towel, and we're going to let these wait again for about a half an hour so that they almost get double in size. And I'll see you in about half an hour. Okay, another half hour's passed, and now I'm ready to make the actual baguettes. I've already made 4, and I'm going to make the last 4. What you do is you take it, the dough, and you flip it over, and you punch it down by taking the outside and bringing into the middle, and you punch it down. Now, what I use is a little bit of cooking spray on my hands, roll the dough over again, and then you use your edge of your hand to actually seal the dough down so it will look like that. Now, once you've sealed it, you're going to start rolling it. And you want to roll it quite hard so that you're getting it to go quite long. And then at the ends, you roll it so you make the little tips as if it was the baguettes. And it will look like this. You put it on your tray that has got the parchment on it, and you can do the next ones. So again, you're gonna roll it into halfway, punch it down, use a little bit of cooking spray, seal the bottoms, then roll the dough out, making the tips for the baguettes, and lay it on the tray. Take the third one into the middle, spray, seal it, and roll it. They don't have to be perfect because baguettes aren't perfect. They just look individually unique. And then the last one. Again, into the middle, then all the way around. A little bit of cooking spray. Punch it down, sealing it, and then roll it. Make your tips. Now what I want to do for some of these baguettes, I'd like to try a Parmesan with some kind of seasoning. So what I'm going to do is a 1/4 cup of Parmesan, grated Parmesan cheese, 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder, salt garlic powder. I use the Lowry's garlic salt. A heavy teaspoon of oregano. Mix that all together. And then on top of that, we're going to put some olive oil. I'm thinking about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Use a whisk to whisk it all together. So it's like a paste almost. And I'm going to spread some on 4 of the baguettes to see how it turns out. And I'm going to do this before it starts raising, because as it raises, it will incorporate it. And that should be enough for 4. So if you wanted to do all of them, double up that recipe. This will definitely do enough for 4. Never made these this way, so we'll see how they turn out. All right. So just to show you, I'm gonna bring the camera over so you can see what they look like. I'm hoping you can see that those are the ones with the Parmesan on them, and then those are the ones that are by themselves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover them up with tea towels again, and now they're going to raise for an hour. And halfway through the hour, I will turn the ovens on to 475 so they start steaming and they'll be ready for the baguettes to go in. But at the same time, you got to have a bottle of water spray so that when we're ready to put these in, we're going to first sear the dough, and then we're going to spray it before we put it in. So get yourself a bottle of water. And I'll see you in an hour. All right, we've waited an hour, and now you can see that these have doubled up. What we have to do is we have to sear them so that they release air when they go into the oven. So you can do 2 things, and I'm going to show you to do both. We can sear it with a knife at an angle, 45-degree angle, nicely. Doesn't matter, again, doesn't have to be perfect. Just at a 45-degree angle, and you can see that it's opening up. And then the other thing you can do is take a pair of scissors and actually just cut right into it. and then poke down the little tips. So these ones are ready to go into the oven. And what we're going to do, the pans are already in the oven. You can see the steam coming out. Take out the tray. It's nice and hot. You're going to slide these right onto the tray. A nice hot tray. And throw them into the oven. Oh, I forgot. We have to spray them. Spray them with water. And we will do them at 10 minutes again as well. So here's the second one. These are just the plain ones. They've actually raised quite a bit. Sear them. The other one. And we are going to spray it with water again. Alright, 10 minutes and then we will spray them with water one more time and then we wait till they're finished baking. So I've taken out the baguettes and they're going to cool on a cooling rack now until they're cool. Here's the baguettes that have the garlic and Parmesan spices. And then here are the plain baguettes. They smell delicious in the house. Enjoy, everybody.